Good evening, everybody. If you're on, we're having technical difficulties here. I apologize. Our internet's been having issues for the last few hours, and not exactly sure what's going on. We'll try to get started here soon. If you are hearing me, the Facebook Live, I believe, is having some problems. Do believe it is going out to YouTube right now, so please just hang on a little bit longer and see if we can get this worked out, and we'll go through all the latest on Hurricane Ida. Hey, good evening, everybody. I think we finally got some of the bugs worked out. Again, do apologize if you've been sitting there waiting. Not much way of excuses except for that our internet has been flaky for the last few hours. Hopefully we'll be able to get through this broadcast. Try not to take up too much time. Kind of get you updated on the seriousness of the issue right now. And we'll go ahead and get started. So if you are following us on YouTube or Facebook, we'll try to go through some of this and give you some of the main details. Again, thank you for joining us. My name is Christopher Bannon with the National Weather Service here in Slidell, Louisiana. As you can see behind me is what we're looking at is Hurricane Ida right now. Ida has it's made landfall over Cuba, and it is actually not weakening at all right now. It is looking much better even on satellite and radar. And we'll go ahead and show that to you real quick. I'll pull over here. This is see if I can get this updated. The Hurricane Center is just now issuing an update, what's called the Intermediate Advisory. And as you can see, still 80-mile-an-hour hurricane right over Cuba. It's going to be moving into the Gulf of Mexico overnight tonight. And once it moves into the Gulf of Mexico, it's expected to intensify. And we're going to go over some of the things real quick, why it's going to intensify, and looking at the satellite image right here. As you can see, that big blow up right now, that is what we call, you'll hear sometimes meteorologists use the word CDO, Central Dense Overcast. That's over the center of the storm right now. When that is over the center of the storm, basically the center is not exposed. It's a healthy system, and it is looking almost the best it's looked, and it's over land right now. And if it's going to look like this over land, it's a little worrisome to see what it's going to look like when it moves over water and then throughout the day tomorrow and Saturday night. Real quick, going to the Cuban radar. I apologize. I wish I could make this a little bit bigger on here. Let's see if I can zoom in some real quick. But as you can see, this is Hurricane Ida right now, moving across the western tip of Cuba, western end of Cuba. It has a very well-formed core right now. Not too bad for a 80-mile-an-hour hurricane. That is moving, and it does not look like it is weakening at all. Pretty good eye wall structure on the west side. This is an area of Cuba that is relatively flat. There's not a lot of mountains here. And as fast as Ida is moving, we're not really anticipating much disruption to the core. That is a bad thing, because what's going to happen is that if the core remains well intact, it's going to move over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico overnight tonight and tomorrow, and it's not going to take it long to start to intensify. And thus why the Hurricane Center really beefed up the intensity forecast for this storm as it approaches the north-central Gulf of Mexico and towards the Louisiana coast. So real quick with the forecast of Ida. This is a program that some of us get to luckily have access to use with the emergency management community. What this is showing right now, I've got the cone, and I've also got the earliest reasonable time for tropical storm force winds. And the reason I want to say tropical storm force winds because that's when a lot of our first responders, emergency preparedness officials, both local, state, and even federal, will shut things down. We call it the H hour. So once tropical storm force winds are expected to start, they will start batting down the hatches. So if you are in a mandatory evacuation and winds are now at the 35 miles an hour, you need help. You are not getting help. If you are under a mandatory evacuation, please leave. You need to leave. This has the potential to bring storm surge, almost catastrophic storm surge, especially across the Louisiana coast right now, given this current forecast. But we always talk about the rain. We always talk about surge in our area, but we've been kind of lucky with the last few systems we had. Even though Zeta made landfall last year and the Hurricane Center classified it as a Category 3, those Category 3 winds were very small, confined to an area that was right there on the coast. most people in Louisiana experienced category, at least southeast Louisiana, south of the lake, saw strong tropical storm to strong category 1 hurricane force winds, with maybe a few gusts up into the category 2. Coastal Mississippi as well. Coastal Mississippi saw sustained winds of strong tropical storm force, maybe that weaker end of category 1, but and then gusts that were below 100 miles an hour. Most of the North Shore, north of Lake Pontchartrain, and then if you go across all the way to Baton Rouge, you didn't see anything that is remotely comparable to what you'll see here. I'm from Baton Rouge. For my friends and family that went through Gustav, expect worse than what you got with Gustav. At this current forecast right now, this will bring worse wind damage to that area than what Hurricane Gustav did in 2008. A lot of people down in southeast Louisiana may remember Isaac. It was a little bit further east in their track, but it was a Category 1. It was a slow-moving Category 1 hurricane. You can expect storm surge in some areas to be comparable to that. Other areas may not be as bad. Some areas can probably get worse, and one of those areas that may get worse, it looks like it's going to be on the west side of the mouth of the Mississippi River, and that is the area that we are highly concerned with right now. They've upped the forecast to 10 to 15 feet, which we'll go over a little bit later, from Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi River. Other concerns, obviously, are on those east-facing shores, east side of the Mississippi River to Pearl River. We are very concerned about that. The forecast may only show 7 to 11 feet. However, historically, those areas of Plaquemine, St. Bernard Parish, East Orleans tend to overachieve, especially with this. We're already in a prolonged easterly wind. We're just piling in the water right now. It's not very strong, but the water is already up. Shell Beach and Waveland already have surge that's about 2 feet above, basically 2 feet of surge, but it's just tidal surge. It's not storm surge. But that's already just indicating how high the water is. And we're keeping these easterly winds throughout the day tomorrow, and they're only going to increase in strength tomorrow night, and then we have Ida approaching. So we're really going to be pushing in the water. Surge is definitely a problem, especially, if you are outside any of the hurricane risk reduction system, you are likely already under an evacuation order, and if you are, you need to leave. Finish your preparations and get out. Don't wait till the last minute. Obviously, some places, people are going to leave. Even people who aren't asked to evacuate, they're going to be worried and they want to get out, which is very good. If you are uncomfortable, leave. Make sure you have what you need. Make sure everything is secure and go somewhere safe. Let's be honest. After this makes landfall, it is not going to be a pleasant time down here. We are going to be without power. You could be without water. You could be without other utilities or even medical attention. It's going to be a very dangerous situation if this comes across as it's currently forecast. I'm not trying to scare you. We're not trying to overhype this. Please understand this. We, as our office, would much rather you be over-prepared and nothing happen than for us to play, hey, look, we'll be okay. There may be some small areas, and then you get caught with 6-10 feet of water rushing up on your house. So please take this seriously. Again, if your emergency management, your parish, county officials have ordered an evacuation, you need to leave. They're not going to be there to help you if you're there Sunday night and Monday, and this thing is as bad as expected or worse. And I say or worse because there's even indications it could even be stronger than we're forecasting right now. This system is going to have a very good environment for it. There's not going to be any shear. It is enveloped in a very deep, moisture-laden air mass. So there's no dry air around. And then it is going to move over that, what you've heard, if you're from this area, you've heard over and over, that loop current. And that is that area, if you can see my mouse where I'm circling, an area of deeper, very, very warm water. And this is going to move right over it. So if that core remains intact as it moves off of Cuba, you're looking at a storm that is going to get very strong, and that wind field is going to expand. What I've got on my image right there is the cone right now, but I'm showing the earliest reasonable time, and I want to make sure everybody sees this, is that
The biggest issue we have right now with this forecast is the speed of the system. Is it going to be faster or slower? Gustav was a very well forecast storm from a direction standpoint. This storm, the steering currents look like they're pretty locked in. A lot of times we're not that confident on where landfall is going to be. We feel really good about this one. Really high confidence that it is going to take this kind of northwest track. Now, look, it could be east or west of this current line, by about 10, maybe 20 miles. And that will make a big difference to some impacts, some aspects, especially surge. However, to be over Cuba and then be off by 10, 20 miles is not bad this far out. The bigger issue, though, Sunday, and that line at 7 a.m. Sunday is already halfway through southeast Louisiana, all the way past coastal Mississippi as well. Now, granted, this is the earliest reasonable time, and that's what we prepare for. We want to make sure that we are ahead of the game and not caught with it being faster than expected. So that's why we show this earliest reasonable. So going to my slideshow a little bit, I want to grab onto a few things. Apologize, I'm not sure why it started almost at the end. All right, so first things first with my slideshow here is you do need to know what office covers you. Most of y'all are probably listening to us are covered by our office here in Slidell, the New Orleans Baton Rouge weather office. We also have the Mobile office off to our east, Lake Charles to our west, and the Jackson, Mississippi office. All four of us have tropical watches and warnings out. We also have storm surge watches and warnings out along the coast. So you need to know where you are and where you need to get your most reliable information. We already showed this is the 5 p.m. one, so I already showed you the new 7 p.m. advisory. I'll go back to it real quick so you can get an idea of what it is. Again, this is from the Hurricane Center, their intermediate advisory. This was at 7 p.m. Central. It says 8 p.m. Eastern, so understand that it's in the Eastern time zone right now. Again, it's over Cuba right now, 80-mile-an-hour winds. It looks very healthy on satellite and radar, so we'll see what happens as it moves over water later tonight and early tomorrow morning. So going back to my slideshow here, this is the experimental peak storm surge forecast. We want to focus on this, really want to focus on this right now. From Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi River, we're forecasting 10 to 15 feet. We are in constant contact with the storm surge unit at the Hurricane Center. With the increase in the winds, the increase in the wind radii as well, they thought best to bump up, and this still may even be slightly low. So they may end up in the next, which will come out at 10 o'clock tonight, they may bump it up even more. If I was to forecast an area that I'd be more concerned with bumping up these values, it's going to be over here. And these areas that water a lot of times will overachieve. With this current forecast, it would not be surprising to see values that are, maybe not 10 to 15, but higher than this 7 to 11 feet east of the mouth of the Mississippi River to the mouth of Pearl River, and Waveland as well. Waveland's a very bad area. That Bay St. Louis Waveland, water can really pile up in here. I'm going to try to show you some of the surge stuff in just a second. I'll pull it up. So these values may very well get bumped up if there is any jog in this forecast to the east. I mean, even if it's just 5-10 miles an hour, these values will go up as well. If the hurricane, if Ida is forecast to be stronger, those values will go up as well. So we just need to keep a close eye on this and find out. But obviously, if you're outside of the risk reduction system in St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Jefferson Parish, and obviously anywhere in Terrebonne, Lafourche, lower portions of St. Charles, and where, and the reason St. Charles is a lot of this water will push up Barataria Bay, and it will push up well inland. Most of you know, most of this is marsh. There's not really a lot of land, so the water's got nothing to stop it. It's going to keep pushing forward, and if we're pushing a wall of 10 to 15 feet of water, it's not going to stop. And thus, there are some areas in that Jefferson Parish that they are concerned with. The levees are a little low, but however, talking with Jefferson Parish, the Corps, and the state, the areas that right now are of concern doesn't look like it's going to be any real impact right now there, and they've got multiple safety measures. So Jefferson Parish, talking with they feel fine, they feel good, even with this forecast, even if it was 15 feet, they feel protected right now. So that is a very welcoming sight to actually, sight to hear, which doesn't make sense, but it was good to hear that, because when we were first talking with the storm surge unit, that was a big concern. So Jefferson Parish officials feel better knowing where the highest water is expected to get, and they know their levees very well over there, all the federal levees. The other area of concern that may need to get bumped up is inside of Lake Pontchartrain. Given the track of Ida, if Ida comes across as expected, basically kind of right into Terrebonne Parish and just east of Morgan City and towards Baton Rouge, this area, maybe even if it's just a touch east, what you're going to get is you're going to get a very strong onshore flow in this northwestern section of Lake Pontchartrain, and that is just going to push water towards like Ponchatoula, Madisonville, Mandeville area, and into Lake Maurepas. So these values also, 3 to 5 Lake Maurepas, 4 to 7, they may be too low right now as well. That may have to come up given this current track and the already easterly winds we've got that's pushing water into the area. So if you are anywhere down in these areas, especially down on the coast of Louisiana, Lafourche, Terrebonne, Jefferson, Grand Isle area, Plaquemines, St. Charles. St. Charles already issued a mandatory evacuation for the entire parish. There's nothing stopping the water. If this forecast plays out, it's not going to be good. That water is going to push in. You already know when we just get a strong onshore flow. Heck, you can remember back in May, we had very strong winds, and there was no tropical system. There wasn't any cold front or anything. We had a prolonged period of moderate to strong winds out of the east-southeast, and it just pushed water all into Lake Pontchartrain, eastern-facing shores of southeast Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, but even into Barataria Bay, and it got well inland. And this occurred at the exact same time that we had the very heavy rain that was near St. Francisville. No, sorry, not St. Francis. I apologize. Prairieville, Gonzales, southeast Baton Rouge. We had all that heavy rain combined with a very strong surge of water from persistent winds that were only 20 to maybe 30 miles an hour. I understand that. We had rain that was only about 10, 12 inches in a smaller area. And then we kept pushing water in with 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. And that caused a lot of problems. Just think of that and how much worse this could be with a much stronger wind and the possibility of getting that 10 to 12 inches over a much larger area. So that's something we got to worry about, because if we get these surge values or higher, the rain that we get, that we're forecasting for, is not going to go anywhere. It can't drain. That water is already being pushed in from the lake into the rivers, the backwater areas of Barataria and Terrebonne Bay. They're going to be filled up as well, and so whatever rainfall we get, it's just going to fall over water, and it can't drain. And until we can get offshore flow, that winds to start pushing back out, basically coming out of the west or coming out of the northwest, that water's going to stay there. So it's just a lot of things to take in right now. So going to the storm surge threat, right back here. Obviously, if you are in these highlighted areas, this is where our warning is. You likely got that wireless emergency alert message that was on, through your cell phone. That occurred around 4 o'clock today. Yes, we pushed the button over here to get it out. Glad we were able to get it out at 4 and not 4 a.m. like last year, which was a disaster. But you got that warning for. Okay, it looks like my software is back up again. I apologize. Again, it's internet issues. I'm trying to keep a close eye to make sure that we're not going offline right now. So, going back to my storm surge threat, again, take this seriously. I'm going to pull this image up over here, and just to kind of give everybody an idea of what we're expecting. Now, again, when I show this image, remember that a lot of this area is marsh. It is not necessarily populated areas. I mean, yeah, there may be people there. I apologize. I'm not saying it's not populated, not important. It's more so camps, but you're not necessarily talking about the bigger towns like Lafitte, Home, as you see on my current map, Thibodaux, Galliano. So I may have to turn something off. However, even if some of those areas would be safe, which it doesn't look like it's going to be right now, you're going to be cut off. And given the surge values we're expecting, there's going to be a lot of problems with a lot of water. So go to my screen right here. This is the potential storm surge flooding map from the storm surge unit at the Hurricane Center. And as you can see right now, there are, let me if I can get back to my screen here. The blue, not sure why our internet is acting like this, but it's been that case for the last couple hours. So it looks like we're back up now. I do appreciate it, again, apologize. Going back here to storm surge threat, as you can see, a lot of this